ceremonies, Nathan Cassar. Well, welcome to another electrifying episode of the Justice Plans Wedding and Podcast TV show, where we bring you the inside scoop on crafting the ultimate wedding experience. As always, I'm your host, Nathan Cassar, and today we're diving deep into the world of music and magic with none other than Nick Reed Entertainment. Now, Nick Reed, a musical virtuoso hailing from the northern part of the Central Coast, New South Wales, is not just your average wedding DJ, MC, acoustic singer. I don't know, he'll also put you to bed. He does everything. He's a maestro of melodies, a wizard of wedding vibes, and a true pioneer in the art of transforming your special day into an unforgettable symphony of love. With over 22 years, he's almost there. He will be there like 3 years. 22 years of musical mastery and a staggering 1,100 plus events. I'm kidding you not. He's counted every one like grains of sand. 1,100 events under his belt. Nick has graced the stages of TV, radio, and over 250 wedding venues, leaving a trail of mesmerized couples and guests in his wake. And let's not forget the accolades. Crowned first place in Australian ABIA 2023 for ceremony music, and first place New South Wales ABIA 2023 winner for wedding DJ, plus a host of other awards. Nick's talent certainly knows no bounds. But enough about that. On to the show. He's a fantastic individual, and we're so happy to have him here today. We're delving deep into the heart of wedding music magic, from orchestrating the perfect aisle moment to selecting the ultimate dance floor anthem. Nick spills the beans on everything you need to know to elevate your wedding vibes to stratospheric heights. So whether you're vibing to acoustic serenades, dancing the night away, or seeking the perfect harmony for your special day, Nick certainly has got you covered. Let's get ready to turn up the volume and let the wedding music extravaganza begin. Nick, welcome to the show. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show. Good to be here.
Of course, always great to have you and always great to work with you. We've had the pleasure of finally crossing paths professionally this year. And so although people have in the past, other professionals in the industry confused the both of us for looking similar. And I kind of see it. I mean, I can understand, I guess, but I certainly don't know how to play the guitar like you do. When we were being taught it in school, as you probably remember in year 7, year 8, that we get taught musical instruments. I'd already was a classically trained pianist, and everyone thought, oh, you better pick up the guitar in a flash. I hated it. I hated the calluses that you get, because us like piano players, all soft ivory keys. So I've always been mesmerized by people like yourself who have that ability to play the music, and you do it extraordinarily well, and plus sing at the same time. How long have you been playing for, and what was the inspiration for when you picked up the guitar and started singing and everything else in between?
Oh, so I started at the age of 7, so that puts me into my turning 30 this year, my 23rd year of playing guitar. A year later, when I turned 8 years old, I started to sing. I actually went to a garage sale in the neighborhood and spotted a guitar at the age of 7 and begged my parents for it. I basically said, oh, can I please have this thing, have this guitar? And, they knew me. They looked at me and said, oh, this kid's got a short temperament. He plays Nintendo and loses his marbles, and, he'll be bored within minutes, and that guitar's going to end up in pieces. But it certainly didn't for some reason. And, a few short months later, my mum spotted a kid coming out of school early, and she said, oh, where are you guys going? It's the bell rung. And she said, and the father goes, no, we're actually going to guitar lessons. And so she grabbed the number, and we met up with a guy called Scott Bird, who was my guitar teacher for 10 years. And it just, the rest is history. So
I love that. That's fantastic. I also love the fact that, look, I resonate with you a lot when it comes to the Nintendo sometimes giving you that level of rage, particularly when you just couldn't get past that damn boss on Super Smash Brothers. But I feel that a lot. But no, that's a great origin story, and I love that. Obviously, since then, it's really, you found a passion and you've really taken it further. And I think, as fellow creative, it is very humbling, and I'm sure I'm speaking for you when I say that the feeling that comes along when not only do we have a craft that audiences can appreciate and we love and we love to be able to perform, but there's obviously an ability to create an entire enterprise and business out of it, and people continue to come back time and time again. How does it feel, sort of just being, one of those creatives who have essentially made it, so to speak?
Well, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a rock star. And I guess in the realm of business and where I situate today and how I am able to make a full-time living out of music, I do feel like a rock star. So I have been able to achieve my dream. It's very humbling, and I love the best part of my job is the impact that I have on others. Like getting the hugs and the handshakes at the end of the night, knowing that I've made a really big impact on someone's lives on what is their biggest day of their lives. And giving them memories, giving them, sending them a folder of all the dance floor vibes, all the stories, all the videos. There's a real excitement about what I do and the impact that I have on people. And it's the most rewarding job in the world.
That's really fantastic to hear, and I can, definitely mutually feel that along with you. And it's definitely one of those things that, like, we don't talk about often, really, because it's not an easy thing to put on a social media post or anything else in between. But it is something that I like to. It has come up a couple of times over this season and the last season that that feeling for us as vendors, we are there because we care, and that sense of satisfaction. Yes, of course, like we want to be able to pay for food and for our rent and support our families, but at the same time there is also that additional thing that comes in the wedding industry, which is us having a deep appreciation for the impact that we have on our guests, and of course our couples, first and foremost. So that's such a beautiful thing, and I know that I say for the both of us, we're so grateful for it. Let's talk weddings, and let's talk about something. Let's go back to because I know that you're obviously incredibly great at receptions, and we'll get to that later in the show. But sort of just taking it one step back and going to the aisle moment, so to speak. So a lot of couples, obviously, because it's such a stressful part of their day, in the sense that it's actually when the moment's happening. If you don't do the ceremony, it's just a really expensive party, and that's fine, but it's not the purpose of the wedding. And so obviously there's a lot that goes into that 30 to 45 minutes typically that any ceremony usually takes. Music is obviously a very important part of it, and you are a central part of delivering that. So tell us about sort of the coordination and the music and everything else in between that you run through with your couples, and how you guide them into crafting the perfect musical experience for the ceremony.
Yep. So I actually take all my couples to a meeting a couple of months prior and give them a full ceremony breakdown. So we actually talk about right from start to finish in terms of what happens musically, what happens coordination wise. And then we start to get into the nitty gritty. Like we spend about 5 minutes or so literally just talking about that aisle moment and what that looks like, So whether, like, how many people are walking down prior, are we going to have one song? Are we going to have two songs? If those songs are played over an iPod, and, I kind of try and be realistic with couples as well and go, well, look, if we want to put down, 5 or 6 bridesmaids, couple of kids, page boys, flower girls, and then yourself order one song and it goes for 2.5 minutes, I normally say good luck, if it's a long aisle as well. So there's all these variables and factors that I help bring awareness to. So then we can craft an actual plan or a loose plan around what we're going to be doing, particularly for that aisle moment as well. So in terms of the absolute breakdown, the actual marrying bits, 20 minutes, half hour tops. There's, music before, there's music after. You can pick what you want around that. And then it's just basically, we talk about that aisle. We go, okay, who's giving us the thumbs up? Is it someone from the venue? How many page boys, flower girls, bridesmaids, or who else is walking down before your partner comes down as well? What does that look like? Have we got one song for everybody? Have we got 2 songs? We've got separate songs set aside for you. What we want to avoid is everyone down within the first 30 seconds of one song as well. It's not rushed. So I always try and give couples lyrical cues. So you might say, the song, as soon as the song starts, send the kids out straight away. As soon as the first verse starts, send bride or party member number 1 out, 2, 3, 4, and then your partner coming down the aisle as well. So there's a lot of dynamics and flow that we talk, and then obviously when we get to the end of the aisle, there's 30 seconds to a minute of a shuffle that occurs. So are we going to, keep the music playing? If it's a traditional wedding, are we going, is the celebrant or a priest or someone going to come in, chime in and say something before we get started when they're standing at the aisle waiting? So there's all that stuff that we actually discuss and go through in length. But 90% of the time it's let the music play, give the couple some space. There's hugs, kisses, handshakes, pass off flowers, choose the dress, whatever people need to be doing, getting settled in. And then getting, celebrants there, pushing them into the middle of the arbor to make sure that it's all photogenic. So that can take anywhere up to a minute, and then it's pretty much start time from there. So that's just a very in-depth aspect of just the start of the ceremony, but obviously there's so much more to the ceremony as well as you go through all the bits and pieces. And
I love the in-depth nature of that. And I think as much as, look, obviously you and I's job amongst other professionals in the game is to make sure that we're simplifying as much as possible, hire us to then make the day more complicated. But certainly I think there is importance with nailing down that nuance, because there are so many little tweaks. Every couple's different. And obviously, as you said, 90% of the time there's this general template that everything follows by, but there's that additional 10% that may apply in certain different circumstances that you have to make small little tweaks in order to avoid that situation where, as I've seen many times, I'm sort of sitting in the back. As you know, I'm in the shadows at the ceremony when it's on site, and I'm watching, I'm listening and observing, and there's that sort of intangible feeling for the audience that is like, something seems off. Don't know what it is. For me, I know what it is because I'm in the game. But for many in the audience, they're just like, something's off here, and I don't know what quite it is. Anyway, it's a beautiful day, la-di-da. But obviously, our job is to avoid that feeling, because that takes people out of the experience. And certainly, when you're the most important sort of position at the top there, you're stressed about it, you want to say the right things and not slip up on your vows. I can imagine the nuanced nature of the structure that you bring is definitely going to make them feel at ease.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's something that once I actually get halfway through, I actually stop and ask couples, has anyone explained this to you? And 9 times out of 10, it's no. And I feel like that's really important to actually explain to couples how you get married and what's the rundown, and then what happens for the rest of the day and the night as well, what actually goes down. Because I know they've booked a photographer, they know they've booked a musician, they know they've booked a celebrant, but what actually happens? Like what can I expect on the day? They can look at a run sheet and go, oh, okay, well, I can see this, this, and that. But what does it actually mean? Like, what are the people doing? Where's the flow of people going? Like, what after I've done this, where do I go? What do I do? So it's good to give people that insight and give them the opportunity to have a breakdown from start to finish. So then they know what to expect, and then with that comes questions, and then we answer those questions. We can help, obviously, being in the industry, our job there is to take away the stress. So and I find that asking good questions is a really good start.
Perfect. I absolutely love that approach. And I think that's definitely where the better quality weddings, in terms of the better flow, the less stress, really come down to it. So I absolutely love that approach. In terms of, obviously, another big thing is, it's one thing for us to explain the structure of a day and give people a sense of expectations. It's another thing then for them, obviously, to have to find the right music. So how do you help guide them? But more importantly, just independently, how do couples go about picking the right music for their dance floor and for their aisle and everything, and all these other specific moments that happen?
Yeah, so I've been really leaning into Spotify with couples, and as part of when couples choose to work with me, they actually get an onboarding process. There's over 30 hours worth of tunes I've put across 8 different playlists from actual real weddings that showcase to them what I would consider to be the best of the best in terms of 8 different genres. That helps them get started. And then from there, couples are picking, I say, send me back, use this for inspiration, send me 40 to 60 songs, use that for inspo, and send me a list back of what your favorites are. And that's been something that's obviously paid dividends. Really, really good to get that insight. Couples, when guests RSVP, they write on the card, they go, what's one song that you can get up and dance to, that you'll get up and dance to at the reception? That's priceless, because without as a DJ, there's a little bit of guesswork trying to put out the feelers and the vibes to see what people are into. When you have that list of 40 songs in front of you from guests of what they'll actually dance to, it takes all the guesswork out. And you might not play that exact Michael Jackson song, but you can at least look at all the genres and the artists and go, okay, well, that's just taken out half an hour of guesswork out of my time to get this right. But yeah, Spotify's been a really good engine to get on and be able to look up, even if you just type in first dance songs or aisle songs, or wedding aisle songs. I love all of the all out 70s, all out 80s, all out 90s playlists as well, which are Spotify generated playlists as well. That's fantastic to get some really good chart topping songs from those eras as well. But generally, when a couple's more open-minded and they like a good mixture of music, that's a really, really big help. So, you know, things across R&B music, across dance music. So maybe even getting into the specifics of genres as well. So thinking like about dance music or house music or R&B, rap music, hip hop or rock and pub rock and all that kind of stuff as well. Is lots of tools on Spotify, even YouTube and YouTube playlists as well. Certainly a lot of blogs out there on Google as well. But when couples work with me, it's a full process of there's a big massive email with a video walkthrough that takes them through everything, and then a whole bunch of playlists from real weddings and set lists and song lists that I've provided to give them inspiration right from day one.
Love it. And I think that full handheld curated approach really does give couples a greater sense of ease. I know that when I worked with you, it was fantastic because, you know, we're both sort of have that approach. And so we were, as professionals, we're, you know, both taking care of each another's sort of fields of influence in such a structured but also really personalized way, to the point where our couples that we've worked together with before really felt a sense of ease. And you can really feel it on the day. Particularly, I'm sure you've had this before where you've done other weddings where you could maybe anticipate in the air somewhere that you were doing a lot more of the heavy lifting in terms of your process versus perhaps other vendors on the day. It is what it is, but it's great to know that it is possible for couples stressing about sort of finding the right person, that there are people like yourself who really have a strongly curated approach to the way you do it. And therefore, that's going to create such a better sort of playing field and less stress on the day. In this vein of getting it right and picking correct, how do you recommend couples out there vet the people that they're potentially going to hire? And even one step back, how do you just sort of find that shortlist in the first place?
Yeah, so obviously Facebook and Instagram are great tools to get people started to discover talent and look at, you know, things like agencies and artists and booking direct and all the rest of it. I think now more than ever, people need to be very vigilant in terms of doing their research and making some educated choices as well. Even things like, you know, Facebook groups. So there's places like, you know, Hunter Valley Weddings, Sydney Weddings, and all these kind of groups and chats and things like that. I would go as far to say that, you know, asking for recommendations there is great, but you will also get people's partners and, you know, husbands and wives and other vendors all put their 2 cents in and make recommendations. And if you're asking for 10 different recommendations across 10 different areas, you will get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments. So it makes it really, really hard. But if you can round down a top 3, you know, the magic of 3, get 3 quotes or get 3 different contenders. It's always nice, I find, if you actually put a post in one of those groups and you say, hey, I'm thinking about using blah, blah, blah. Could people please privately message me their previous experiences on this vendor? And what you will get is real stories, like real interactions with people. Because I find that with comments, you know, like it could be very biased. It could be full of people's mates. It could be full of, you know, maybe a DJ's just started out and 15 of his mates are there. They're all tagged him. So it makes it look like he's a really successful business owner, but he's only been operating for a year, you know, and with that comes, you know, risk and liability as well. So it's one of those things that people need to be trusting their gut on this interaction. If you're after live music, always going out and trying to see them at events, at expos, at you know, if they play at pubs and clubs, going to see them live as well. A lot of musicians, not saying a lot, but like When they professionally put video and audio together, it has been curated, it has potentially been altered, it has got auto tune on it, it's got effects and all the rest of it. So when you're paying a performer, you want to be able to see what are they actually like live, like, so seeing an artist live is the best way to kind of go, I like this vibe, I like his voice, I like her voice, I like the instrumentation, or that's not for me, I'm not feeling that at all. But leaning into friends, asking for recommendations as well, but just doing all your research, like looking at Google reviews, Facebook reviews, obviously trusted websites like ABIA as well for legitimate reviews. And even doing, if something doesn't feel right, looking up, doing an ABN lookup on people's businesses will actually see whether or not they're doing this as a hobby, or if they're actually doing it full time as a profession. They've got a sole trading business or a private company or something like that as well.
I mean, even a specific yardstick like GSD registered or not. And then look, this isn't, I would like to clarify to those listening, of course, and I know I'm speaking for us both, that, this isn't like an elitist sort of scenario where it's like, oh, only the best in the top tier and everything. Like only those ones should be considered. But I think everything you've just mentioned is important, because everyone has different sort of filters and what they're prepared to, what kind of risks they're prepared to take versus what preferences they have. As I'm sure you've seen many times, you see posts that come out and say, I would love to support somebody who is just starting out. That is just our vibe. We're okay with it. We understand the risks that go along with that, but we would just love to see somebody. They know they're also saying we'd like someone who's on the cheaper end, but we're okay with that because we want to support someone moving forward. And certainly you and I, we started at some point and we had people that took us up on that. So it's a grateful thing on their behalf to be able to do that. But I think everything you've just mentioned is absolutely critical and definitely should be a good yardstick to follow as people move forward. Switching tunes for a second and sort of more specifically moving to the nuances of, now we talked about the ceremony beforehand, now just briefly on the reception. Obviously, the biggest parts of the night that you have a real personal touch to are going to be the first dances, the father, daughters, mother, sons, etc. What are the nuances of coordinating those formal dances, and how do you guide your couples on that?
So depending on whether there's one or two songs, I guide my couples through a process of, okay, would we like to start with the father-daughter dance, invite everybody up halfway through that, and then clear the dance floor, get everyone up on, to make a big circle, and then the couple comes in to do their first dance. Or you could reverse that and do the first dance first. Most couples kind of want to get to about a minute and a half. I try and push for a minute and a half because it just allows for enough angles for a photographer to get those photos with just them on the floor and everyone else in the background. But what we want to avoid is, if they've got a coordinated dance, making sure that we don't actually invite people on 30 seconds in and then the whole dance is ruined. There's all these kind of dynamics that we discuss and go through. So, I mean, if couples don't have anything organized, let's just stretch it to a minute and a half of whatever's comfortable with you, and then invite guests on the dance floor. And then if you want, we just change gears into the next song, whether it's like something slow, and then people can stay up there. You can grab mum, you can grab dad, you can kind of dance with them for that moment as well. Obviously, the photographer's going to come around and find you and capture that. And then whether we do another one or two slow dance songs after that, just for the oldies to enjoy before we start to ramp it up into some disco or something like that. There's a lot of dynamics. So I kind of take my couples through like those kind of two, okay, which one are we doing first? And then from there, how are we going to build that dance floor? And then more importantly, once we've built that dance floor, everyone's on there. How do we keep them there for the rest of the night? Which is where obviously all the tools that I've brought up prior as well start to take effect.
I love it. Perfect way to go about that. I resonate with that quite a lot. Look, final question before I throw out some quick rapid fire fun questions for you to wrap up. I know that we could just talk forever, so in a good way, of course. Look, this is the golden question, right? So DJ, band, acoustic singer, or Spotify? How do people pick what's right for them?
It's a tough one. I've seen crowds that booked a band where a DJ probably would have surpassed, and then the vice versa as well. I've seen a crowd with a DJ that, maybe having a band would have been even better. Like it would have got people more involved. I think for what I do, it's a little bit two birds, one stone. People are getting their live music fix, which, people say nothing beats live music. There's a real ambience, there's a real vibe to it. And then as well, the versatility and all the things that you can do as a DJ to be able to cover multiple different genres. We can go into R&B. We can relive some of those early clubbing days, like, you know, DJ Zammy and Venga Boys and stuff like that. We can go into 80s and 90s and have that versatility. But by the same token, if you're getting a really experienced band and they've got multiple set lists, you know, they're doing something like there's a rock and pub rock scene, there's an R&B scene, there's, you know, an 80s retro kind of scene, and they're able to bring all that, read the crowd and make the kind of right calls with songs, then yeah, having a band, an electric band, is going to be fantastic. So I think it comes down to, obviously, the couples kind of get the final say with that. But even just having a think about, you know, if you're a bit of a guest pleaser, like, what are your guests going to be into? What kind of music are they into? Maybe, you know, all that kind of stuff plays into it as well. And then I guess, obviously, having a budget around is like what's going to work for you as well, because typically, like, a band might be a little bit more expensive. You might be able to get a mixture of both and have like a bit of live music, a bit of DJ as well. So you kind of approach it both like that as well. I know there's some premium acts out there as well that offer both the DJ and the band setup as well, so they kind of intermix between, so you're getting a combination of both as well. And then I think Spotify at the end is like definitely a budget saver in terms of, you know, hiring a speaker or putting a speaker on and playing some tunes. But the thing that I've noticed for the last 10 years in events is it turns into a bit of iPod wars if you're not careful. So you can definitely you know, have a set list and have it delegated, and then someone comes along and thinks they're a DJ and goes, oh, I want to play this really good song, and they plug the thing out and the speaker goes pop, and then they plug something in that goes bang, and then they pop on one rap song that they think is great. They get halfway through and they go, actually, no, this isn't good at all. This didn't go down as much as I thought it would. And then, you know, then you're left to, okay, well, where'd the other iPod go? Oh, that's out of charge. And it's just kind of another thing that needs a lot of work, a lot of attention. You know, if you're not careful, if you're not in an area worth of in reception area, you know, they haven't saved the songs to the phone, so then the streaming doesn't work. Oh, quick, what's the Wi-Fi password? You know, all that kind of stuff as well. So I think, yeah, with anything, you know, like whether you're booking a band, whether you're booking a DJ, there needs to be a process. There needs to be the couple needs to be given a strong platform to have a strong voice, to voice their opinions, to get their ideas across in a safe space that's honoured, and you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, if you're picking the right people from the start, they should set you up with something that's going to give you a voice and a platform to talk. And yeah, hopefully I've covered a little bit.
No, I think it's perfect. No, I think all the nuances. I think I would only add one extra thing to that is venue sort of does play a massive part. I've been in many scenarios where I've been to venues where they've got a band. This is particularly more a problem for a band where it's a low ceiling, sort of a smaller setting, and they've got a 5-piece band. I would argue the band really should have said, no, that venue's not appropriate. But of course, some bands like, oh, well, money, of course we're going to take that gig.
Yeah,
and then what has is, you know, I'm constantly as the MC getting, oh, can you tell the band to turn the drums down? I'm like, well, that's not how it works, but okay. And so it can be really, really challenging, and it can often really kill the vibe, particularly with your older guests as well, who I just constantly, anyway, that's just one other nuance that I think really doesn't get talked often about. And I think it really should play a lot more of a bigger part in terms of people figuring it out. But look, we're almost at our end. I've only got a couple minutes left, so I just want to run you whatever first comes to mind, make it really quick, make it fun. First off, what do you believe is the top trend that you're seeing for this year?
Look, I think people are engaging more and more with personal brands rather than big companies. I think people are really looking for personalities. I think people want a really personal touch, you know, rather than cookie cutter kind of stuff put together. I think people are really, especially in this economy, they're doing their research and they're approaching people, you know, for their personalities, for their energy. They're really making really good, smart investments towards people that, you know, building their team, getting the right team right from day one as well. And I think people are engaging more and more with musicians directly, with DJs directly. People want clarity, they want transparency, and they want honesty and integrity. So I think people are making more and more educated guesses around engaging with and having the right team right from the start as well. That's kind of a trend that obviously not like fashion trend or decorating trend or all the rest of it. But yeah, I think people are becoming wiser and having a bit more diligence when they're doing their research online, that they'd like to engage with somebody that's going to make them feel safe and someone that they can trust as well.
I really like that. I haven't heard that one yet, and it definitely is very. I really, really like that, and I definitely see it as well. Last one: do you prefer beach or country weddings?
I think I'm going to say country, because getting sand in the shoes is not fun. I've tried to come up with arrangements of 3/4 length pants and thongs, but can be a bit tricky and a bit unstylish. But has been a while since I've done a beach wedding. But I think I like the country. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Good choice. Yeah, sand has a way of getting everywhere. As much as I can appreciate, we're surrounded by beaches and good ones too. So, mate, we've run out of time. Tell the lovely audience listening how they can find you and potentially book you.
Yep. So I'm on Facebook at Nick Reed Entertainment. Reed spelled R-E-A-D, like read a book. Same with Instagram, Nick Reed Entertainment. I'm on YouTube as well, and my website is www.nickreedentertainment.com.au.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Your award-winning insights are definitely, hopefully, going to have an impact on, as they do for many of your couples out there. So, thank you for being at the top of your game and always bringing your A game when you're on site. And I look forward to working with you again soon, mate.
Likewise. Thank you again.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Just As Planned Wedding Podcast. Please like and subscribe to let me know that you want more videos just like this one. And of course, please follow us on our socials at Just As Planned Wedding on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more expert insights to help your wedding go just as planned.